Okay, so you've got an idea that I hope that this subject is about digital sound, digital images, digital video, sensors and interaction, and how to put all those things together to make interesting and meaningful user experiences. But what is the subject structure? Well, the way it's going to work is that each week we will have what I'm calling a lecture slash workshop, which is 1 hour per week on a Tuesday. And in this session, we will really just be reviewing key concepts from readings and the demos. So each week you will be given some reading to do. For the first few weeks at least, it's going to be readings from the textbook that I'll get to in a sec. But you need to be reading this stuff and working through some of the code examples that you're reading in preparation for the lecture workshop. And in the lecture workshop, yes, I'll be kind of going over some of the more difficult concepts and hopefully sort of clarifying anything which is confusing. We'll also have some activities to kind of work on to help ensure that you really kind of get to grips with those concepts and think about how you might integrate some of these technical ideas into the designs of the stuff that you're making. As well as the preparation and the lecture workshop, there is labs, and these are 2 hours every week, and they're on different days throughout the week, depending on which one you've been allocated. And this is really where the bulk of the work happens. You'll get extensive coaching, so there'll be tutors there for you all the times. There'll be each week a series of practice exercises for you to work on based on the material we've been working through that week. And as the assignments, as you move through the semester, you'll be gradually working more and more on your assignments and getting coaching from your tutors. Each week there is a series of marks allocated, and depending on the degree of preparation and input and effort you put into those labs, you will receive participation mark as well. So that is a nice way to segue onto assessment, which is always a very important consideration, I understand, for you all. There are 3 assignments and a participation mark. So assignment 1 is basically outlining what kind of interactive media application you want to build, you want to construct, and that's worth 20%. So you're basically just specifying, sketching out ideas. That's worth 20%. Assignment 2, you create prototypes of the multimedia application you specified in assignment 1. So you're trying out, obviously for any specification you come up with, there is multiple ways of achieving that. And individually you will construct prototypes in order to explore those different ways of approaching things. That's worth 20%. Assignment 3, as a group, and I should say assignment 1 is done as a group. Assignment 2 is also done as a group, but you do your prototypes individually. Assignment 3, as a group again, you come together and you take the best parts of all the prototypes from assignment 2 and put them together into one final completed interactive media application, and that is worth 40%. As I alluded to before, there is also a participation mark, so there's a number of lab exercises that you will be working on in labs, and depending on how you go on with those, how much effort you put in, and how much you generally contribute to class, how much progress you make on your assignments week to week. You will be getting each week either 0 marks for doing nothing, contributing nothing, 1 mark for doing kind of reasonable work, and 2 marks for doing excellent work. And at the end of the semester, each of those lab marks is added up, and that will contribute 20% to the final mark. So the assignment, my ideas may change a little in the next week. I'm just reserving that. But the idea at the moment is that the assignment will involve you developing one of 2 kinds of applications. Either you will develop an interactive data visualization and sonification where you take data somehow relating to the 2016 presidential election. It might be data relating to opinion polls, it could be data relating to campaign contributions, data relating to a number of times someone has mentioned on Twitter, any kind of data you can get your hands on that relates to that 2016 election campaign in the US, you need to put into an application which visualizes that data and that users can sort of interact with. So they can select maybe what data to look at or what date range to look at, and you show them that data in an interesting, compelling way that uses both sound and images. So using the techniques we're showing you, the technical techniques we're showing you in programming, to put something together that is a compelling and hopefully kind of interesting experience for users. So that's one option. Or instead, you might choose to make an interactive audio-visual instrument. So I've got here a bunch of, this is a sort of a silly photo, a bunch of crazy-looking instruments, but you won't be building something like that. We're not going to be actually constructing hardware, but you will be making something which is audio-visual, so something that produces graphics and it produces sound in response to something that the user is doing. It could be waving their hands around, it could be dancing, it could be jumping up and down, it could be hitting keys, it could be any number of things, but the idea is that it should be interesting and original, and it should use all the techniques that we have covered in the subject. So within those two areas, you would need to choose exactly what you did. So there's quite a lot of latitude to be creative within those constraints, I believe. Okay, so you're probably curious what kinds of tools and languages and so on we're going to be using in this subject. We'll be using processing, which is quite a well-known open source audio-visual programming environment, and I'm actually using it right now. This video of me talking to you is actually a tiny little processing sketch that I have written to simply take the input from the video camera and display it in the window. It's not the most exciting sketch ever, but this sort of shows you, I guess, what a processing sketch looks like. You have a text, a programming environment here where you type in your program code. Basically it's Java, but it's kind of a special kind of Java that we'll talk about later. You type in your text code here, you push the play button to run it, and when you run the sketch, depending on what you program, of course, it comes up in the window showing you the output. So processing is a free tool that you can download, and I definitely want you to do that this week and start playing with it. And it has well, it has a number of quite good books actually that explain it really well. We're using this particular one, and I may also refer to others, but this is the one that we're going to be mostly basing the course on. Processing Creative Coding and Generative Art in Processing 2. You don't have to buy a hard copy, but you certainly can if you wish. It is available online via the UTS Library website. So if you go to the UTS Library website, type in the title of the book, it will come up as an online reference. You type in your UTS username and password, and then you'll be able to read it all online. The other tool that we'll be using is a visual programming environment called Pure Data. This is also open source, so you can download it for free and play with it at home at your leisure, and I would also encourage you to do that this week. It can do similar things to processing in a lot of ways, but Pure Data is particularly strong at doing audio processing. So we're going to be basically using processing for the visual side of things and Pure Data for the audio side of things. But the lines are blurry because processing can do sound and Pure Data can do visuals. But basically Pure Data for audio in this subject, and Pure Data for audio and processing for visuals. And there is an online manual available for Pure Data. If you Google it, you will find a bunch of things. We're not really going to get to using Pure Data for several weeks, so you don't need to rush into that just yet. Okay, some practical information. If you want to contact me, really you should only email me for personal matters only. We have lost count of how many students we have currently, probably about 180 or something like that. So everyone sending me emails is just impractical. But please do send me an email if you have personal issues such as illness that's going to prevent you from attending classes, or that you need to discuss, you're going to be having trouble submitting your assignments on time because you're unwell, or there's some particular personal circumstances that mean you can't do that. Yes, then please do email me and I'll be happy to respond. But if you've got a question about the subject content, you've got a question about how to program in processing or pure data, don't email me with that stuff. I just can't respond, but do post it to UTS Online. You'll see in the UTS Online space for this subject that there is discussion boards. Post stuff there, and we will monitor those very closely, myself and the tutors, and we will respond on UTS Online. So any questions regarding subject content goes to UTS Online or to your tutor in class face-to-face.